All right, joining me now are civil rights advocates Martin Luther King III and Arndrea Waters King. They're both part of the Drum Major Institute, a nonprofit American organization founded by Martin Luther King Jr. They focus on democracy, peace, and justice. I thank you both for being with us this morning. Arndrea, I'm going to start with you. What goes through your mind when you see these images of the protests in LA, these protests now spreading to other major American cities? What do you think?
Well, the protests that started out this weekend were by and large peaceful gatherings, Americans coming together to use their constitutional right, the First Amendment, for free speech. It concerns me to see the inflammation that has happened and the escalation and the militarization over the last few days. And one of the things that I'm constantly asking myself is this America? Is this our America in which the military is being turned on peaceful demonstrators? The last time that the National Guard was called in was in without a governor's permission, was in 1965 to protect demonstrators. This has never been done where demonstrators are actually being targeted.
Martin, you want to pick up on that? How is this different from protests of the past? How is this different from 1965?
Well, I don't know that I can say it any more clear than Arndrea just shared. What I will say is that when certain levels of police engagement are called. Now, police have to, of course, enforce the law. That's understandable. We all support peaceful demonstrations. But when you send police in, or police forces, or military forces in this case, to actually intimidate, more times than not, it has been shown over the years that oftentimes the forces of law come in and instigate as opposed to just protecting and preserving. It is important for nonviolent demonstrations to be allowed to exist. And in fact, the fact that there was no engagement between the governor and the president, that's not a good thing. People need to see government sort of in line, but the policies are challenging. This is a tough time for our nation. This is a tough time for our world. But those of us who believe in justice and righteousness and peace must stand up and say, we don't agree with this. We must do it in a nonviolent way. Ultimately, there can be success, but it will not be success if it escalates. And I think it probably is maybe rising, but it could in fact blow up according to how people respond, because every action creates a reaction.
Blow up how? With more violence?
Yes, I'm saying more violence. Yeah. Today there's a small, well, let's say over the last few days, 90 or 80 overwhelming percentages were nonviolent. There were incidents of violence, and that possibly could escalate. And so the goal is, how do you tone things down? How do you not allow them to get out of hand? And it certainly would not be by coming in and bullying innocent people. And, you know, when you look at the fact that children and families are being separated, people who are, by and large, paying taxes and trying to do their jobs, go to school, go to church, and not just be, you know, forced. There's a better way to do it, is what I'm saying.
Arndrea, I'll give you the final word today, as this has been called, you know, a manufactured crisis by a lot of observers. What do you think ultimately is the Trump administration's goal here? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I am wondering if you think it is to eliminate protests altogether.
Well, it really seems that there is not a very organic and real effort to bridge the division that we're seeing in this country. And in fact, it seems like there is, I always say you can't play footsie with hate. You can't play footsie with division and separation. I think as the government has a responsibility to all of its nation's children. And Dr. King's last book was entitled, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? We have seen too much chaos in America, and it doesn't seem to be settling down anytime soon. What we're standing for, and what we know, that there are more people of goodwill here in America that are coming together and standing for community, standing for the best of what we are, standing for the United States of America. And that's our hope. That's what we will work for. And there are many people of goodwill all across this nation that will be working and standing with us as well.
Arndrea Waters King, Martin Luther King III, thank you both for your time with us this morning. Appreciate you.